This episode is brought to you by Cash App. When personal finance connects you to both your funds and the stuff that matters, that's money, and that's Cash App. You know what else is money? Really, really perfect circles, nice dry cherries, and getting to drop a cake on your boss's head. That's money, that's Cash App. Download Cash App from the App Store or Google Play Store today to add your cash tag to the 80 million and counting.
Spread as far as the eye could see all over the floor of this vast building. It was this deep. And one plumber said, "Look at all that water." And the second plumber said, "Yes, and that's just the top of it." I'm so sorry. It's my nephew. He's very disturbed.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Binging with Babish, where this week we're taking a look at Aunt Petunia's pudding from Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, which to me looks like a Vintorta, something that I saw on Great British Baking Show. So what we're talking about here is a layer cake made primarily of meringue and secured together with whipped cream, plus some maraschino cherries and what looked to me like a purple custard of some kind. I imagine this color and the custard's flavor coming from some fussy old person's liqueur, in this case creme de cassis, a digestif made from blackcurrant. So first up, the lengthiest step in our process, making the meringue. For a French meringue, in the bowl of stand mixer goes 6 large egg whites, which we're going to help to stabilize with half a teaspoon of cream of tartar and flavor with a quarter teaspoon of vanilla extract. Go ahead and wire whip these guys together until they are light and frothy, 1 to 2 minutes, and then begins the slow and steady process of adding the sugar. 430 grams of the stuff, added a little tiny bit at a time. Then all those sugar granules are going to punch lots and lots of little holes into the egg whites, I think, whipping it up, volumizing, and stiffening it as we continue to beat it together on high speed for 4 to 5 minutes until we have achieved a state of stiff peaks, just enough so that the meringue stands up on its own. Take great care not to overwhip. Now I'm dumping this stuff into 2 separate piping bags, one with a star tip, the other with a plain old boring round tip. Then on several sheets of parchment paper, I am tracing out 1 9-inch and 3 8-inch circles, which I'm going to secure in place on a rim baking sheet using a little bit of nonstick spray. Insert my drawings face down and boom, non-toxic circle templates. Now the edges of each meringue disc look like they were piped using a star-shaped pastry tip. Then I'm flooding the center using the round tip, flattening it out, and piping 1 more ring on the outside of the top layer to act as a sort of custard barrier. So I'm ending up with 1 large base layer, 2 middle layers to hold the custard, and 1 top layer. These guys are headed into a preheated 225-degree Fahrenheit convection oven for 1.5 to 2 hours or until they are completely dry. Now the one thing I learned from that episode of Great British Baking Show is that you gotta let your meringues cool completely in the oven. Temperature shock causes cracks. And while even the best meringue is going to have a few hairline fractures, you can prevent total collapse by waiting until your oven is cool to the touch. So there's the structural bases for our cake. Now we need to address the masonry. For the custard, I am combining 90 grams of sugar with 30 grams of cornstarch, tiny whisking until the cornstarch is evenly dispersed, and creating a slurry with 100 ml of whole milk. Then our remaining 575 milliliters of milk is being combined with 50 grams of sugar and 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, getting placed in a large saucepan over medium-high heat and being brought to a bare simmer. Killing the heat, adding the remaining 50 grams of sugar to 4 large beaten eggs, whisking until combined, and then slowly streaming in the hot milk mixture, all while whisking constantly and impassionately to prevent curdling of the eggs. Once the eggs are tempered, we're going to return them back to the pan, place them over medium-low heat, and bring them up to just barely a boil. Once you see little puffs of steam escaping from the little bubbles underneath the foam, once again remove this from the heat, refresh your cornstarch slurry, which is probably settled a little bit, then while whisking constantly, slowly drizzle it in so as to prevent clumps, and put it back over medium-low heat, once again while whisking constantly. Kendall says that in culinary school they said that you're not making custard unless your shins are sweating. After 1 to 2 minutes, the custard should thicken, take it off the heat, and then we can start letting it cool off while we flavor and color it with this blackcurrant liqueur. This stuff tastes extraordinarily sweet and distinctly of dark, rich berries, so I'm hoping that it will lend its beautiful color and flavor to my custard, which it did not, because as it turns out, when you mix purple and yellow, you get kind of gray. Tastes kind of good, but we're going to need to augment heavily with food coloring until we get that slightly off-putting Aunt Petunia brand of purple, which we're going to strain directly onto some plastic wrap set in a rim baking sheet to catch any curled egg chunks, tuck it in for bed, and get it into the fridge for at least 2 hours or until completely chilled and up to 3 days. Next and last, maybe my favorite part of this pudding party, we're making whipped cream reinforced with cream cheese. We're starting off with 2 blocks or 550 grams of room temperature cream cheese that we're beating into a consistent consistency. Then we're sifting in 200 grams of powdered sugar, loving it with high shutter speed speeds do with suspended particles, add a half teaspoon each vanilla extract and kosher salt, and beat together just like we would on any other cream cheese frosting Tuesday, scraping down the sides of the bowl to ensure even consistency, and then slowly streaming in 675 milliliters of cold, heavy cream. Once all the cream's been added, go ahead and continue beating until you've achieved a state of stiff peaks. And there you have it, folks, a frosting with the consistency of whipped cream, but the flavor of cream cheese frosting. Now that's what I call wizardry. Sorry. Then I'm dividing this batch in half so I can color each green and purple respectively. And then we're ready to start doing one of the things that I am worst at, cake assembly and decoration. We're starting with a dollop of frosting to keep our base layer in place. Then it looked like the first layer just had some green frosting holding it up, so I'm using that as a base for our first custard layer, which, as you can see in the unfortunate way I'm squeezing it, makes it kind of like an alien autopsy. But once that's over with, I can fill the cavity, fill the waiting void. That's no better. Make a custard puddle. That's better. Which I'm going to decorate with more green whipped cream frosting, top with another custard puddle, or cuddle for short, more structural green, and our top layer. Now all there is left to do is imitate the many floral decorations. Green and purple all around the cake, or pavlova, or vin torta is what it actually is, kind of. Last but not least, cherries on the bottom and top levels, bottom on the green, top on alternating short purples. And there you have it, Aunt Petunia's pudding, or a cake that looks funny when it's dropped on somebody's head by virtue of magic. First let's see if we can manage to cut ourselves a piece. And how's it taste? It's okay, but it's way too sweet. Ultimately, this cake only has one purpose, sitting and looking at, admiring the subtle artistry of your piping, and oh, what the devil? It's disappeared, almost as if by magic.
Oh! Did that hurt? No. It sounded like a pile of books.
I knew it was going to be rigid.
Thanks again to Cash App. That's money, that's Cash App. Download Cash App from the App Store or Google Play Store today to add your cash tag to the 80 million and counting.